So this course would be more of like theoretical session, right? And labs. Okay. Now, I understand theory would seem boring, right? But I'll try my best to make it as interactive. I'll try to make it more of a conceptual delivery rather than just, giving you like, monotonous dialogues wherein it might be very boring, right? So what I'll try to do is to make it more interactive by providing you guys the conceptual overview, right? Wherever it is possible. Okay. And during this conceptual, it would be more of like a discussion wherein I put across the concept and then, we can have a discussion and understand if there is any outstanding questions or if anything needs more clarification. Okay. Alongside this, we are gonna deploy our labs. Right now, these labs will have PaloAlto firewalls in them and other network devices. Okay. Now, for most of the content that we're gonna cover, you can go ahead and review the content over here. Let me go ahead and open that for you. Yes. So if you go down to networkgeek.in and if you go to PaloAlto, right? So this is the content that we are gonna go ahead and cover, right? Uh, these topics are listed over here. However, there might be some, at times we might need to go off track to discuss a particular concept, right? Which might not be listed over here. But whatever is listed over here will be covered 100%, including the theory and lab. Okay. So we are gonna and for panorama that you see at the bottom, right? This is gonna be more of like theoretical. We are not gonna go ahead and do the labs for panorama. However, rest everything would be in a detailed lab session. Okay. Uh, cool. Any questions with respect to the course content or anything that you guys would like to discuss? Let me copy this. If you'd like to ask any questions, feel free, to raise your hand and I'll unmute you. We can have a discussion. Okay. So you can go ahead and review the course content. Let me give you a walkthrough of the content that we're going to go ahead and discuss in this training session, right? So uh, we are going to discuss about Palo Alto initial config, right? In initial config, uh, generally what we cover is like, we start with how the GUI looks, how you can go ahead and configure the management access, how you can access the GUI of the firewall on a web browser, and the interface and basic configurations wherein your firewall will be able to function at the most basic level. Okay. Uh, then we are going to discuss about few concepts where we are going to go ahead and talk about what do you understand by zone-based firewalls, right? What exactly is zone and why this is needed? What are these? Uh, guys, recording will be provided, so you don't have to record individually on your system. Okay, so I'll deny this request for now. However, we will share all the recordings with you. You don't have to worry about that. Okay. So how you can go ahead and create these security zones based on the security zones. I mean, how many types of zones are there? And what is the difference between an L3 zone, tap zone, right? So we'll talk about those. We'll go ahead and see security policies, how we can configure these security policies, leveraging these zones into the security policies to allow or deny traffic. Now, when we say security policies, So security policy, by the looks of it, it looks very simple, but sometimes it gets really tricky because you need to understand that security policy is the main, ACL that you write over there, and that is going to allow you allow a particular traffic or deny a traffic based on the matching attributes or parameters that you provide, right? Now that could be based on the zones only. It could be a source zone or you know target zone, right? Or it could be a user ID, or it could be applications on a based on a particular application, based on particular URLs. A lot many things. We're going to go ahead and discuss that in our sessions. Configuring security policies between zones. That's what I said. Uh, Traffic monitoring, right? Now, if there is a, once you deploy firewall in your environment, and if there is a security policy in place that will allow the flow or deny the flow, right? Based on the configuration, what action you have configured. So, but how are you going to know if there is a particular traffic getting allowed or denied? This is where we are going to go ahead and understand the logs that you can see on the firewall. Okay. We're going to talk about ACC, Application Command Center. This is really, uh, you can call it as a dashboard. Okay. These dashboards give you visibility into, the network, the security perspective, the risk score. You can, almost pretty much have a dashboard that will give you insight into all the activities which is there on the firewall. But this is sort of like a historical data that we can say. Okay. We're going to see, so these are like networking components, DHCP server, DNS server. These, as we all know, right, every device, be it a firewall or a laptop, it needs an IP address. So we'll see how you can configure DHCP server, DNS server, and then routing configuration. So these three are like sort of like uh, routing or the networking perspective. Okay. We'll see how we can add routes on the firewall. Okay. This part over here is like dynamic NAT with port numbers, then static NAT with port forwarding, right? We're gonna see how we can configure, uh, dynamic NAT, uh, how we can configure a pool, or we can use an interface IP address, or how we can configure static NAT. So we'll see the differences between dynamic NAT and static NAT over there, okay? And when it comes to the port forwarding, why this is important, okay? Uh, those who might have attended the boot camp, they might have come across this interface management profile. This was briefly covered in the boot camp, right? So we're going to go ahead and then discuss about interface management profile, the details of it, how or when this could be used and when this cannot be used, or it's not a good idea to use it, right? So more or less, I mean, it's not just the configuration, but to understand if this is a good idea, right? Because in production environment, a small mistake or a misconfiguration and there would be a data breach. Okay. Uh, Service route. This is we'll talk about this. Okay, we'll cover service routes. Port tunneling. What do you understand by port tunneling? Layer 7 application filtering. Uh, Obviously, when we talk about NGFW, we are talking about a device which is capable to have visibility to layer 7 in the packet, right? So that's where we identify the applications. So we'll discuss about how this application filtering actually works, based on which you can allow or deny access. Uh, Categories of the application, it could be like business, collaboration, and all that. High to low risk applications will understand the application based on their risk score and their nature, as to if these applications are evasive in nature, or if they have anything that could be exploited to maybe, create an attack, right? We'll discuss about application group, application filter, how we can use them in a security policy to have an effective security policy, right? And then custom applications, how you can create your own applications. Okay. Sometimes you are in a production environment, your own organization has their own, you know, uh, applications that they're developing internally, and that might not be on a well-known port number. You might have to go ahead and create your own custom applications. How we can do that, we're going to go ahead and discuss in this session. URL filtering, this part is URL filtering. We'll cover how URL filtering works. These are EDLs or external dynamic list. Then SSL decryption, including this, right? When there might be at times when we have to create some exclusions. We are going to see why we need those exclusions or how we can do that, right? And then we are going to see geo-based ACL and time-based ACL. So these are like geo and time, right? Geo-based means geographically, if a traffic is originating from a particular location, we might be able to restrict it. And time-based ACL is when, for example, you are in a school and you have a like 9 to 6 school and you'd like to place a particular ACL at a particular time. Then this time-based ACL would come into picture, right? So we'll see how we can go ahead and configure these. File type blocking is more of like, we'll cover this under security profiles. Okay. Now there are security profiles. I'll modify this and I'll add it as security profiles, wherein security profiles will have like antivirus, anti spyware, then vulnerability, wildfire, and I mean, there are 8 profiles altogether, right? So we will discuss about those security profiles, why they are important. So allowing or denying a traffic is not sufficient in today's world as as the technologies emerge, as the data is becoming more and more significant. Uh, Attackers are becoming more advanced. Just allowing or denying a traffic is really not going to help us out. So we have these security profiles to do the deep packet inspection. We'll see how that works. uh, Content awareness, upload and download, how that works, marking tags. We'll see tags are more just a means of like organizing the uh, security rules so that it becomes easier for you to manage them. We'll see what is commit, save, revert. So this is based on Linux architecture where we have to actually commit the changes. We'll see how all these work, right? We'll try to discuss a bit of commit flow over here. This is commit. Import export configs, how you can do your administrative jobs, wherein we'll be able to import or export the configuration, take backups of it. Configuring layer 3 sub interfaces on PA. We'll see. I mean, we'll talk about these under interfaces, where we'll go ahead and configure the all the types of interfaces, be it like uh, Ethernet interface or maybe a loopback interface or a VLAN interface. We'll see those under interfaces configuration, right? Then we'll review how the route static path monitoring works, right? Wherein you can have a static route that might be defined inside your virtual router, and that route might be if the next hop is alive, that route is still there. The moment next hop dies, that route should be gone. So how that automation or how that monitoring actually works, we'll have a look over here. Will those who might have attended the boot camp might be aware of ECMP, right? Equal cost multipath load balancing technique. We'll see how if you have multiple paths to the same destination will be load balanced across all the 4 paths. So maximum support is 4, but we can see how that works. We had a demonstration about these in the boot camp, right? Captive portal with local user accounts. We'll see you know captive portals when they're used. What exactly is a captive portal? Just for an idea, captive portal is a page that you get when you might be able to log in when you visit MACD or maybe a hotel and trying to access an internet. They'll throw you a page where you'll be able to enter your information and then access their internet, right? So a similar setup, that is what is called as captive portal. User ID integration with AD. This is where the user ID part of PaloAlto comes in the picture, wherein how we identify the users and then enforce security on those users, allow or restrict or you know zero trust, you can say, least privileges, right? We'll see the deployment modes, right? How we can deploy a firewall in Viva at app layer 2. Layer 3 is the default or the general deployment that whatever we're going to do would be layer 3. These are the additional deployment modes where we're going to see how we can deploy Viva at app layer 2 or any these deployment modes. Okay. DDoS protection, or we have something called as DOS protection profile and zone protection profile. We'll see over here. Okay, DOS plus zone protection. Threat prevention policy, these are again going to be covered in your security profiles. Okay. High availability, HA, active passive setup, right? So active passive setup will be covered. I'll give you a brief about active as well, wherein we'll have a discussion how this active works, but this is rarely used. I would say this is used in case if there is an asymmetric routing in the organization. So you won't see this on a very common basis, right? But there are some deployments that I can tell you. Understanding site-to-site VPN, how this IPsec works, and uh, IQV1, IQV2. Okay, IQV1 is the most common one. IQV2 is the advanced version of IQV1, you can say, wherein they have modified how this communication happens and it's considered to be a bit more secure. Okay. Then we are going to talk about RA VPN. This was the last session that we have taken in the bootcamp, where I just gave a brief idea what RA VPN solution does PaloAlto Networks have. It's Global Protect that is present with them, right? And how this RA VPN is different from IPsec and how we can go ahead and configure this. So these will be like RA VPN or Global Protect. Then NAT traversal, how does that happen in IPsec? Okay, so I'll try to give you guys a brief description how actually the packet level exchanges happen on IPsec IQE1, and then what exactly is NAT traversal? When does it come into the picture? Why do we need it? What is NAT discovery and what is NAT traversal? How you can enable it and how it's going to help you out? Okay. And then as last panorama, that will be theoretical. Okay. So these are the topics that we are going to cover. Trust me, these topics are in line with whatever is needed to, build your concepts. At the same time, there are primarily two certification exams. I'm gonna just talk about it before we jump into discussion about the certification part. I just wanted to give you guys a brief about the technologies altogether there in PaloAlto Networks, right? So we discussed about the course content. Let's talk about PaloAlto Networks a bit. Okay. So PaloAlto Networks is a cybersecurity firm, uh, and they have a global presence with a market capitalization of close to 100 billion. Okay. So $100 billion is the market capitalization. So you can imagine how big of this company is. Uh, their products are being used by almost all the top companies which are there in the market. Now, okay. Vignesh, don't worry. I'll not leave any stone unturned. So destination that is covered over there. Okay. Don't worry. We'll get on that. And patching upgrades. These are the when we'll be covering the day one initial config, I'll give complete details on that. So don't worry. We will definitely cover that. Okay. So yeah, coming to this, cybersecurity firm with $100 billion market capitalization right now. Every top firm that you might be aware of is using PaloAlto Networks, be it Visa, be it Mastercard, be it Amazon or any other organization that you can think of has a Palo Alto, solution present over there for the security perspective. Okay. Now, if you might have heard the terminology, Strata is one of their segment. Prisma is their another segment, and then they have Cortex. Okay. Now, Strata, if I talk about this, it covers NGFW. And when I say NGFW, that will be like physical boxes, VM, CN series. So CN series is nothing but container service where you can spin a firewall on the Kubernetes or anything similar, Docker or something like that. Okay. CN series firewall, or if it is deployed on like, cloud NGFW. Okay. So these all things would come under Strata. Okay. If you and then there might be smaller components. We are not bothered about that right now. Okay. If you talk about Prisma, Prisma, one of their top selling product would be SASE, right? That is secure access service edge, right? And then they have so SASE is combination of Prisma access and Prisma SD-WAN. Okay. And then they have uh, next generation CASB, right? So this is another security feature which is recently added. Uh, I mean, it's a matured product, I would say, but it's really powerful tool. Okay. So these three components that you see are mostly the bundled SASE solution. Apart from this, you will be able to see Cloud. Prisma Cloud is Prisma Cloud is their uh, cloud posture management system, right? Uh, where customers might have, nowadays customer use hybrid solutions. They might have sorry, they might have Azure cloud, they might have AWS cloud, and then they might have GCP cloud. They might have solutions deployed in all the three clouds. Okay. It might be because of vendor redundancy that they want. It might be because of some XYZ reason that they wanted to have multiple clouds, right? Now it becomes difficult for them to have a security posture, monitoring every time an administrator has to log in and see, okay, all the configuration is as per the security policies or not. For example, your VM is not exposed to public environment if it is not needed to, right? So all these things might, cause a security concern if it is not well, the posture is not well monitored and managed, right? So generally, you'll see that there would be an auditing process and there's lengthy process and it takes a lot of amount of time, and till the time it is mitigated or it is fixed, till that time there has been attack already happened, and that misconfiguration might be already exploited, right? So Prisma Cloud is a solution that helps you to monitor all your clouds and get a report if everything is as per your security compliance or not, right? So this is a really powerful tool. So this is about Prisma, and then we have Cortex. Cortex has like XDR, XIM, right? XDR is your endpoint solution, wherein you have like a McAfee antivirus, right? Similarly, you can have XDR, but this is more of like a corporate security. Okay, there's not like an normal quick heal antivirus that we install. This is more robust. It has sandboxing and a lot of things that can help even to protect with 0-day, right? And so this is XDR, which is your endpoint detection and remediation. And then XIM is their orchestration and monitoring tool, right? And monitoring tool. Okay. Now, again, these are not in scope, so I'm not going to go too much in detail. I'll just give you an overview so that you are aware what are these XIM. So you might be aware of like Splunk, right? Some Splunk is a SIEM tool. So Palo Alto has a competitor to that, that is XIM. Okay. It has similar capabilities. At the same time, you can create playbooks, you can, sort of like automate the flow that you'd like to have over there. And it's a really good tool that I can say. Okay. And apart from that, there is something called a CDL, which is Cortex Data Lake. Hmm? Cortex Data Lake. Now, Cortex Data Lake, as the name suggests, it is a data lake wherein all the logging and these kind of facilities are hosted. Uh, you, you can have a firewall that will have the logs locally stored, or you can have those logs sent to a cloud solution, which is Cortex Data Lake, which is owned by Palo Alto Networks. And, you can run a lot of analytics, and then you can have visibility through Prisma, right? Because this is a cloud platform. We have something called as Hub, wherein you can go ahead and have visibility insights onto your logs and understand what kind of threats you're seeing, or maybe now we have incorporated AI with that, right? So that AI will give you visibility onto what's actually happening in your environment. So these things are really uh, I would say next generation, right? Wherein they have a robust security solution to cover almost everything. I don't see of any vertical that might not be present over there right now. They have, uh, you can see we already have an access and SD-WAN solution, which every other vendor out there is trying to sell, but we have combined it together to bring a SASE solution, right? So that is a smart move by Palo Alto Networks, right? So these are the verticals as of now that is supported by or that is uh, catered by Palo Alto Networks, right? Any question, guys? Cool. Guys, feel free to interrupt me. Okay, any point, any time you have any questions, I'm open to discussion. You can just let me know, and we'll try my best to answer your questions. Okay. This was about Palo Alto Networks. Let's talk a bit about the certifications that they offer, right? So in this course, we are going to discuss about NGFW, right? Which comes under their strata solutions. Okay. Strata solutions have NGFWs, which is next generation firewalls. Okay. Now they have generally two certifications. Uh, Shikant, Panorama is a part of Strata. So the NGFW and Panorama is a solution to manage these NGFWs, right? So Panorama is Strata. Uh, yeah. So there are essentially two certifications, that PCNSA and PCNSE, right? So, as the name says, Palo Alto Network Certified Network Security Administrator, right? So, this is like an administrator certification, and this is like engineer certification. Palo Alto Network Certified Network Security Engineer, right? Now, what is the difference between these two certifications? This certification, it is more of like an admin job or role that it targets. For example, it will ask you simplified questions, so it's not going to go deeper into any other things. Okay. uh, for example, how you have to configure uh, connectivity to Panorama, and these steps are being done, which step is missing. So maybe you just need to add a Panorama IP over there, right? So these kind of uh, questions that you can expect from PCNSA, very simple or basic configuration level questions that I can say would be there in PCNSA. Okay. And this PCNSA itself is sort of like an administrator kind of role, wherein you're not you're not assumed to be doing some troubleshooting or deep level troubleshooting to maybe mitigate some challenges or issues in the production environment, right? So this is where the engineer comes into the picture. This engineer, that means this PCNSC certification is focused on like overall config plus troubleshooting plus understanding of the verticals. When I say verticals, I mean like there might be simple questions for like Prisma as well. Okay, very basic questions for Prisma, but they want you to understand Palo Alto Network's solution as a whole, right? Wherein you understand what configuration is needed, you understand what kind of troubleshooting that could be done to maybe mitigate or a challenge or maybe resolve an issue, and then that you have an understanding of a Palo Alto Networks as a whole solution, right? Maybe because even the next generation firewall uses Cortex Data Lake, which will send the logs to the cloud, right? So simple questions, not too deep, because this would be more concerning towards strata. You might get one or two questioning based on your Prisma as well, or maybe a simple question related to CDL, wherein how these logs, if you know a simple thing like, for example, you need a device certificate to be present on the firewall in order for the firewall to forward the logs to the Cortex data lake, right? So very simple questions, right? So this is what would be there in PCNSE. All the topics that we cover over here will cover the PCNSE part. We are targeting PCNSE. If you prepare PCNSE, PCNSA is piece of cake for you, I would say, right? Because all the topics would be covered in detail over here in PCNSE. PCNSA is sort of like a subset of PCNSE. So once you are preparing for this, I don't see anyone facing any challenge for PCNSA. However, my advice is that go directly for PCNSE rather than thinking about PCNSA. There is no as such restriction that you have to give PCNSA first and then you can appear for PCNSE. No, there is no such restriction. You can go ahead directly for PCNSE. Okay. Now, there might be few things that I'd like to, give you as a piece of advice, wherein how you can become more fluent with Palo Alto. Okay. I understand some of you might have some background with Palo Alto networks, and some of you might be totally fresher when it comes to Palo Alto networks, right? Now, the only thing that can help you is sort of like, going through the theory session, that whatever things we are discussing over here in the classes, right? And then making sure that you do the labs, right? If you miss to do the lab, you might miss the whole concept altogether. So whatever we teach in theory is definitely very important, but that theoretical concept is not going to get imprinted on your memory until you do those labs, right? Labs are very important, and I would suggest, to maybe practice maybe twice a day, at least if you can, right? Or whatever time you can dedicate. So do one lab maybe twice or thrice so that you become more fluent in that particular lab. You understand what are the, configurations and why we are doing that, and that will really help you out. Okay. Now, here in our training, what we're going to do is once the theory session is covered, we are going to help you with the lab, right? So you will have access to lab part. For the lab, I guess 2,000 hours and additional 2,000 hours, so close to 4,000 hours have been allocated. Though I'll check on that part, but yeah, 4,000 hours are allocated to complete all the labs that will be demonstrated here in this course. I think this is more than enough, even enough for wherein you will have ample amount of time to maybe replicate these labs, maybe 3 or 4 times more. So that gives you like additional practice hours for yourself, and I don't think that anyone is going to feel that this time is less, right? The 4,000 hours is what is allocated for the lab, right? uh just a quick I guess those who have attended the boot camp have seen how we access the labs. We have, uh, let me go to the browser. So a simple way, you can come down to networkgeeks.in, click on NG Labs, and this is where you will be able to access our lab portal, right? You'll be provided with a login credential, and then you can select your native console or the browser console. I'll explain more about this when we start diving into it, okay? For those who attended the bootcamp might be aware what this is because I have explained this part in bit detail in the bootcamp, right? So once you log in, you'll be able to see your labs, uh, how you'll be able to access. So you'll see certain lab folders like this, right? So whatever courses you might have subscribed to, you'll be able to see it over here. For example, you might have CCNA already enrolled for CCNA with Network Geek. So you'll be able to see this folder and then you'll be able to see a PaloAlto folder apart from that, right? So CCNA will have your CCNA labs and then PaloAlto folder will have the PaloAlto labs that we are actually going to go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and design one lab per session, right? So that's my planning. That's what I'm planning to go ahead with, right? So one session and one lab. So when I say one lab, the topology is going to be the same, wherein we might be able to perform certain tasks, right? So this will be divided into like task one, task two, task three, task four, right? Wherein we'll try to cover maybe four concepts together in just one single lab. So what happens is this gives you understanding of the topology. The topology gets simplified for you because you'll be doing multiple tasks on the same topology. And then you'll be able to save your time as well rather than navigating to different topologies and then performing different tasks. Okay. So this is how you'll be able to access the lab part. And again, as I mentioned, there will be a time uh, bandwidth or time allocation that would be done based on which you'll be able to complete the labs. Okay. So I think this is a fair, I would say, introduction. Okay. Let's keep today's class simple. I'm not going to deep dive too much into the what exactly is firewall and all those things, right? We'll start our technical discussions from our next session. Uh, that is, again, these classes are going to be on Saturday, Sunday, weekends, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Sometimes these classes might end before time, or sometimes these classes might get extended, might be in half an hour or 1 hour. That depends, right, on what kind of lab we are doing. And sometimes we might have to do a live troubleshooting. So we will meet on next class on Saturday. That will be at 9 a.m. And we are gonna then start with the actual technical stuff. Today, this was just more of like a brief description or discussion, I would say, wherein I just wanted to give you guys understanding about the courses syllabus that we're going to cover, what content that we have over here, and then how you can access the labs, and then what exactly is being covered. Like, we are going to cover the startup part, and under that, the certifications, right? PCNSE and PCNSA. So this was the agenda for today. We'll start from our we'll start our technical discussions from next class. That will be on Saturday, 9 a.m. Right. So I think we're good for today. If you guys have any questions, please let me know. If not, we can end the session.